We have the baby, the monk, nun in Asia. I'm wondering what is the deal on this. We have the mother, the queen, and the gnosis. Okay. What I'm getting is baby, the monk, or the nun, and Asia. This is traveling through. I'm trying to figure out if you're the woman that had the baby or you are the baby. I think this is you as the baby. This is like the prized gift, the very, very important prized gift. The first thing I'm getting is like shades of Moses. So there's stories about lost babies through all the cultures of society and whatnot, or babies that are rerouted for their own good. I think you were an unexpected surprise for your mother. I don't think that she was in the position to do much as far as the rearing of you. And I think she did stay close. It very much feels like, yeah. There's a knowing you had, a wisdom you had. You came to this particular life experience very, very full of knowledge. Now, a lot of honor on the family name, respect on the family name, things that are traditionally done, things that are ways to do it. There's structures, there's orders, there's things that you're supposed to do. And your existence flew in the face of that. Just by very fact that you were there. People of high station weren't supposed to have this issue. And that's how you were viewed, as an issue. People of high station weren't supposed to have this issue. But nevertheless, you decided you're coming through anyway. The station of the whole family could have shifted because of your birth. The way they are seen in society, it wasn't just their arrogance and worrying about this, that, the other. There really could have been some pretty severe, crazy changes if it were to be known. Ooh, that's because of who the father was. That's interesting. And that comes in, and that's like, ooh, the scandal. Let's see what's going on. We're going to the Wildwood deck. It's very much like the Druid deck, but we're going to see what's going on. Your family was the high court. Your family had the skill. They were artisan. Your family had this stuff where they were well known for doing what they were doing. They would weave things together. They would teach things together. They were seen as powerful merchants. They were seen as people that would have the goods to trade. When you think of the Silk Road, they would be the ones with the silk. They would be the ones with the expensive fancy pants shit. The merchants with the money that knew what to do. Seasons of change and cycles, they would know what those were. They would be very, very well prepared ahead. Whoever it was in your line, it seems like they knew what was going on. Now, sometimes in cultures, I don't know if it's, I don't want to misquote the culture. In some cultures, the women were the merchants. They would pay attention to the colors of the dyes for the silks, for the fabrics, for the things that would be traded. And that's how they would organize the household. They would be very, very successful as merchants. It wasn't just patriarchal, patriarchal, patriarchal. However, your mother's association with your father, your mother's association with your father, so your parents, they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing that got you here. The families weren't supposed to merge in that manner. It was blatant defiance. You guys were partners. You knew, or those guys, your parents were partners, and they knew they could handle it, but it was blatant defiance, and it was totally shut down real quick. The decision had to be made. The change had to be made. You went elsewhere. Really crazy. There were cycles, times, and seasons. It's like you were sent somewhere to learn something different, and rather than learning anything about being merchant or textiles, you learned more about music. There were seasons that would come, there would be gatherings. So often the lost child is so much closer than what we realize. So often the lost child comes around, or the parents will seek, the child will seek, the child will seek. Somehow there's an interweaving again that happens once again. But there's this musical aspect of things that comes through. Powerful. You had a little bit of too much time alone. I think that's why you started it. It's like, where did you get it? It feels like you had time alone, that you would go outside, that you would like listen to things that were outside, and you would be tuning into nature's music, if that makes any sense. Rather than the colors or the feelings and the weavings and the texture. You're very, very auditory. And you travel, it's almost like if you were to travel in modern times, you travel on a train and you hear the that kind of thing. You would hear that. Whatever that was when you were crossing over the roads and traveling, you would hear these noises, you would hear these sounds, you would hear this music. I don't think your mother was very far. I think you were actually with a seamstress by arrangement from your mother. That's kind of a weird one. I don't know what that's about. What's that about?
I'm the youngest of 4. I was named after my grandmother wasn't really close to my mom.
Uh-huh. We've got the Queen of Wands and the Three of Swords here, but basically we've got the fiery heart that broke. Prolific creation, prolific productivity, making things, doing things a lot. Your mom was busy. But what about the seamstress? Was she here? Oh, she is here. The whole seen and not heard thing was kind of a tricky thing. I'm getting the wren here, and this is showing me like in the winter when the wren appears, it's just kind of still and quiet, and this is an unlikely occurrence. This one stands out against the backdrop. It's like not covered in snow, still very vibrant, still ready with life, still ready to go and happily doing their own thing.
After their divorce, I stayed with my dad.
This is just about the deal that's made for years. How many years of one? Looks like a deal is made for a 10-year period of time, roughly thereabouts, a 10-year period of time where you go with this seamstress person. The deal was struck, the deal was made, it was on purpose, it was done. Then some skill kicks in, then there's more passion kicking in, coming up that way. Anything else on these? You're kind of an odd duck. So there's this, I want to call it the transferer. I don't know what that word is. The go-between is what I want to say. He goes back and forth between your mom. He would probably know your dad. He goes back and forth. He knows this is the seamstress. He knows everybody. He's stealth.
My mother was native. I have a lot of auntie and uncles. Visit the res often.
Okay, gotcha. Again, we're coming to the time of a celebration. This is a big time of celebration. I think the go-between guy comes back and forth, and finally informs your parents that you're coming more of age. Something about the 10. Something about, yeah, the time is here, and then there's this celebration. Yeah, you're coming of age. It's like you were out of harm's way a little bit, but you were kept in the, they were kept in the loop about you. There were times there were meetings in places where they would follow the seasons like celebrations normally would across the world, different cultures, so forth. But by the time you were about 10, then you could be allowed to be seen without so much shame coming to the family name that, oh my gosh, there's this child out of wedlock. Unexpected child. No, it was like, okay. It wasn't as much of a problem.
I was a loner type person and handled things on my own, very independent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the run in snow is a really good metaphor for that experience. There was a distance and a coldness, a definite wounding of the pride of your mother not really seeing you or being able to take you on, and it hurt. There was a really big sense of abandonment felt, and you kind of learned that you could expect not very much from her, even though she was seen by others as quite proud, did well, important. You knew the truth of what was going on. You knew the truth of how you were not supposed to be in existence in her world. It disrupted her world. And so you really felt hurt because you just were a kid, wanted to be a kid,
Yes, true.
If it would have been linked too strongly to your mother in her youth, she would have been killed. The reason that she was so in denial of you and getting you to somebody else to exist as if to be somebody else's child was because she would have been killed because of the shame it would have brought on her family name. Or her family would have been like, no, we don't have that happen here. Wow. The father aspect of things, he always wanted a child, wondered where you were, wondered what was going on, thought about you quite a bit. The father aspect of things in this one was stronger than the mother. He was constantly searching for you, making sure. She kind of cut things off and shut down. This one started looking around more. He kind of had good close tabs on you. That's why the go-between was there. All right, 1 second. Trip and a half. The decks we're using are trip and a half. Going through here. Getting birds. Wait a second. This is your parents longing and wanting for you. This is you somewhere out in the night and you're being in the night sky is really nice for you. You like that. This is where you feel harmony. You feel the stillness and the quiet, and you like it. There's discussions and contracts made about the years of your birthday, what will happen when time passes by.
My father and me had a very close and respected relationship.
This Page of Cups energy, this is young girl energy. This is young girl at the waters. Definitely, this is again the gift of music coming through. It's like you'd be walking in the meadows, you'd be walking all around, you'd be singing, you'd be humming, you'd be playing with the animals, mostly just looking at the birds and the creatures, and you'd be in your very own space there. Very, very comfortable. Just in the meadows, Feels like there would be coming a time when people would go from one hill space to another hill space, and there would be gatherings and meetups, which happened often. It's something about the meadows. here we're seeing that your mother, she wielded power. She came into her own station. She did have more power because of where her family was situated socially. She was still harsh, still a little bit harsh, still a little abrasive. It's hard to, I think she was conceited and a little bit vain. You didn't work into her plan, and she had to hold her own. She clung to her vanity and what was the construct, and that was her own fear lesson. Meanwhile, you're just walking around little kid. I get this whole energy of a child that's just in wonder, just walking around, innocent, checking things out, taking things in, but a little bit lost.
But yes, and then also put love nature, love all animals.
Yeah. Probably always will. Probably lifetime after lifetime always will. What's going here? Okay. All right. The grandfather energy, the grandmother was really proud, the grandfather energy is really proud, but the grandfather energy, he would recognize you by the quality, the tone, and the caliber of your voice. He recognized and understood that. To him, that was very familiar. For him, for generational lines, he would know this. Like, this is snapshot, and this is grandpa, mom, you. And here, this is very, very easy for him to see, easy for him to understand. And it wasn't because your mother would go around singing like that, but perhaps your grandmother did. Is that what we got? That is what we got. I think that is what we got. I think your grandmother would have been cool with you. I don't know if you knew your grandmother much at all. I don't think you did. I think she was probably out of the picture. Let me see. I think she was out of the picture. There's all kinds of wares, all kinds of things that are brought to market, brought to the table. Like we were talking about earlier, the culture was set by the women as far as a lot of commerce, trade, and business and so forth. They did a lot of the household things. The table was set, the table was laid, everything was ready, ready, ready. You had a strong connection to your grandmother, and I don't know why or what. The one with your mother wasn't so strong. I don't think she was connected to her mother. I'm not sure what happened with her mother. Anything else we got going on about you? What happens after you're like 10, 12 years old? What happens further down the track for you?
I did know my grandmother. She was proud of me being named after her. See you once a year.
Okay, there's a little bit of conflict and heartache that happens for you, no problem at all. It's just this is how it happens. Whenever you're around, it is kicking up a hornet's nest to some degree. There is a little bit of loss, but lightheartedness as well. There's some things that are swirling in your favor, and it's like your positioning was okay. You were meant to be more of a tourist than a steady part of this particular group. You were seen more as a tourist, not as an interloper, but more as a tourist. Like, it's not that you weren't one of them, but if you were officially recognized as one of them, it wouldn't be good. So you were a tourist, considered part of the traveling company. I think you would know how to mend, or you would know how to weave. You would know how to do the things that your seamstress mother, the adopted mother type person, she would be the seamstress. She would have taught you some skills. Because she would know that would be how you could use things to do well with the merchants. There's real threat to you and jeopardy by the time you're about 16. There's real threat and jeopardy going on. There's a wrong crowd seeking after you to take you. I don't know what it is that they want to take you for, their purpose or what, but a baddie. The baddie wanted to take you away. What's up with that?
My mom left when I was 11, didn't see her again for over a year.
I don't know what that is about. King of Pentacles here. They wanted to take you and exploit you and use your gift and have you be going around doing performances and touring, and I don't think you did. You were like your grandmother in that whatever your voice was doing, it was like honey and it was like okay. But these people that saw it, they wanted to take you somewhere. These people wanted to take you off. This is like your grandmother here. Your grandmother here would be like before your mom was born. This grandmother, this is the grandmother here. And here comes this baddie wanting to take you away, wanting to have your gift, your talent exploited. And so it would draw people. And she put the kibosh on that, blocked it out, but it is how your grandpa recognized you. It is how you were recognized within your family. It wasn't the path you were supposed to be on. If somebody put you up like in the celebrity mode of the time where you would be on stage performing, you would have been lost. Like you would never have gotten back to your family. And I think that is part of the reason your grandparents did what they did, and they kept things kind of on the hush. It is what they did to keep things on the hush. It is. It was the perfect partnering and pairing for them. They knew what was going on, but it was like, an inside secret, an inside joke, an inside understanding. Your grandparents knew it. Some of the elders knew it, but your grandparents definitely knew it. They knew that you had this gift, this power, this singing.
My father remarried when I was 16. We moved to San Diego for a couple of years, then moved back to California. Or South Dakota, maybe. South Dakota for a couple of years, then moved back to California. Sorry.
No idea what that's about. Anything else she needs to know? Yes. It's like, why did you get this gift? Why did you even have this? Why did you even enter into this field at this time? If your mom was like kind of clueless, your grandparents had a little bit more of a clue. Getting it. Okay. I got it. Hang on. There's always been a placeholder of song of some sort that is there with those people. There's always been, I wouldn't call it minstrel, but some kind of music minstrel, a placeholder of song. It's something about the way things were woven through the cycles, through the time. It's something about the gift that protected the community and those that were even adjacent to it.
Not sure about the singing. I don't have the voice for it.
Doesn't mean that it carries in this life. There will be crossover, but whatever. There's always been it's a placeholder. It's a weaving of story. How would I tell that? Sometimes in current times we go through family histories, we see genealogy, and it's the one ancestor that knows all the stories of all the relatives before, tells the stories and passes them down. It was done through song back then. There wasn't as much print, there wasn't as much written, but you carried the history because of the way you sung, because of the gift you had. You learned the songs that carried the histories and passed it down. It's why you were born. It was part of your purpose then. This is very much like when you were born. It was the time of things to open up. This would be the child that would have the gift that would go out and do this. It would go out under the moonlight, under the stars, which were here somewhere earlier. It's what it was. It's what it was. It's like much would come at you during this time. There was a lot of busyness going on in your lifetime and in the time of your people.
Native songs are all about Native history.
It's this is ignorance in my understanding of Native American culture. I know there's like traditional stories that are shared, and I know that there's different roles, whether it's the chiefs or the important significant peoples of the tribes, the storytellers, the people in charge of the women, the people in charge of medicine, the people in charge like the Heyoka, those kinds of things. You weren't Heyoka, you were story keeper is what I'm getting. The song was the story, and that's how you kept it. It's what you did. It was intended to be so. It would be hidden for a while, and it wouldn't be spoken of all the time. There was something sacred and important to keep it within certain confines. So it would be put away for a while and then brought out at gatherings. You came to understand this in about your mid-20s. You kind of understood a little bit better by then. It's like you dealt with your dark and light side too, very much on this. Your lighter side understood, your darker side felt a little bit of bitterness about it. It was really tricky for you. And then we're back to the parents again. They came in as the King and Queen of Swords here, and they're coming in as the King and Queen of Swords again. Like you were the lark or the wren or the songbird of the tribe to tell the story, to bring it forward. And it was not easy times. There was something about that knowledge and the tradition and the stories that needed to be passed on, but also held within the community. That was what you did. I don't know that you and your mother will get a chance to repair this in the next span, the next span, the next span. The roles will flip here and there. And it seems like the seamstress person, the woman that was the seamstress, taught you how to weave things together in the textiles and the materials, and it helped you figure out how to weave harmonies in what you were doing in other ways as well. She was your advocate, your ally, this seamstress chick. She brought the pieces together that were literal pieces of fabric to create beauty. You brought it through vocally. I think your parents weren't too they weren't too close, but they weren't too far either. They weren't completely out of reach. Your mom, I don't think, was the relationship that was worried. I think the seamstress and your mom must have had a deal in a past life or something for that to work. But the grandparents and your father were a stronger sense of support for you. And it was I wouldn't say it was tenuous. It just was like understood and understated.
Powwow times and some dances.
Yeah. It's probably just a will of the year kind of a thing that they would have this. And if you did relay the story, if you did retell the story in the song, the people that were meant to hear it would have been there, and you would have been interacting with them. But that's what I'm getting. Wow. Yeah. That's what I'm getting. It brings you back to your parents. But this whole, the weaving in the wheel, this is what you did with music. It's what you did. It's what other people in the tribe would do. And they would probably tell the more vast story of not just within this group of people, this tribe, this community. They would know of the other communities adjacent, which would make sense. That's what I've got for you. Yeah. It's like your life was the life of the bird. That's what I got. Good luck. Wow, kazow. That's kind of a wild one. Tricky one. But if you're a bird in the meadows, be the bird in the meadows. That's okay. Unusual. Wow, wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, smooth. I don't know how to put that. Smooth is the feeling. Okay.